So last time we changed the material of the character. Got him with this little chrome look, and we can actually see that in game. So it has a little, it looks more bionic now. Looks like what's the name of that game? Rise of the Robots. Anybody that might remember that game? uh, all right. And right here is all the different things that make up the character. So I'm going to talk about that right now. So we have the character itself, which has all these different details to him. This is the character, and then you have the capsule component. All right, the capsule is the collision. So you might think in games that you're running into the character. You're not, unless it has really advanced collision on him. But right here, he just has collision right here. Right? So this collision is reacting with things within the level, like this floor, these stairs, and that is the reason why he's stopping. All right, so we can see that in game. Let's see that right quick. So here he is. Right, so if you hit this wall, and turn that material off on it. But you see, boom, that's where it's at. He's not necessarily clipping through it, but that collision, that capsule, is stopping him from going through here. And we can actually see that in game if we wanted to too. If we come over here to hit it in game and uncheck that, so turn that option off or on, booleans. All right, and compile, come back into the game. You can see that collision here. All right, so you're gonna want to keep that in mind. You're gonna need this, trust me, to find out what's happening sometime. All right, so that's the collision. So you have the collision on and everything on him right now. Okay. We have an arrow component. The arrow component is you're going to use this later on too. This basically not only tells you the direction of where the character's facing, but it also, like, you can use it for like projectiles. So like, say you want something to shoot off, you can use the arrow component and just shoot it off. When I first started using Unreal, I thought this was just here to just like for direction. It's not. It actually determines the direction of some things if you want it to. So keep this in mind. And a little trick that you can do to this too. Here, was it here? I can't do it here, but you can actually change the color of this if you add it. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go to add components, and again, every component. Again, here you see basically the same stuff as the basic stuff right here. All right, it's kind of like the same thing right here. You can add things to the character, but it'd be added to the character, not the level. Something to remember. It'd be added to the character, not the level. All right. So let's add an arrow. All right. And I just added an arrow. See? Now, here's a quick difference right now. Inherited stuff is stuff that's hard coded and it's difficult to change. You can, but it's basically just don't worry about that. Don't worry about it in an intelligent way, but don't you have to go into code to change that, and it tells you right there. You see that? It says source inherited C++, right? So that means you will have to go into code to change that. So don't panic. But when you add a component, you add them straight up in the engine and blueprint, so you can mess with it here. So let's do that. So here's the arrow that we added. Here's all these different options we have for it. You have the location, rotation, scale, mobility. Again, is it movable, stationary? If you want to parent it to a socket, that means if you come back to the mesh, it has a skeleton to it. Right? I'll cover that in a different video. You can parent any object, well, not any, most components that you add to this character to a bone. So say if I wanted to add a gun to him, right? And I needed an arrow component to say where that projectile was going. Well, I can add this if I go to the parent socket. Let me compile first. See, that's one other trick too. That's one other thing to learn too. You have to add this arrow component to the mesh first. All right. So if I add this to it and select it, I can choose, like, I want to add it to the left hand, right? So I just added it to the left hand. And you have to position it in the correct way too. Sometimes it's a little finicky, Unreal Engine, when it comes down to this particular section of editing. It does some weird things sometimes. Sometimes measurements and stuff, eh, it's something to play with. You can do it, but it's just something to play with. Like I just added it to the left hand, right, and it went over there. So sometimes you might need to tweak some things, but it's added there. But let me just delete that. So yeah, so you can add added components to the mesh, and you can change the color of this too. Okay. So let's add one other thing. So let's add another component. Let's add a particle system or an effect. All right, so you can add a particle system to them. All right, and again, to get a bone, you have to parent this under mesh. All right, so you have to parent this to the mesh. The mesh is connected to a skeletal system in order to get the bones if you want it in a specific direction. So let's say I want to add, let's pick a particle, which are fun in Unreal. So particles are right here. Well, they're all going to be added into the content, but these particles that I'm going to choose are in the starter content. They came with the system again. But come here and just say I want to add, let's not go too crazy in this. Say I want to add a fire, make it look like his hand is on fire. So again, I select it, come over here, I'm in the particle system, come over to this nice nifty arrow, boom, add it. Alright, now again, it's parented to the mesh. So I can come over here and select a bone for it. I want to put it, the hand didn't work out last time, did it? Let's put it on the head, see what happened. Like Sweet Tooth. Let's see, it's still, but let's move it. See that? You see? So you can add components onto your characters that you make over here, and always compile. That's how you complete it in the engine, and also save. All right, and so that's pretty much what I want to talk about in this video is your components. Let's delete this. Your components or different things that you can add to your character will be right here. Everything everything is, unless you change this, everything will work in conjunction with each other. So like objects, folders, settings, object folder settings. It's that same way. All your different objects you can add, settings, So yeah.